How are you, everybody, for being here? Pleasure to be here today, sharing with such a powerful group of women, notable, very big professionals, and I'm delighted to be able to be part of it, really. Today's topic is something really hot at the moment, setting AMP for success. You already presented me, intro me, so I can pass this just very quickly. I am an Aleyda Solis. I'm an international SEO consultant. I do also a lot of technical SEO, strategic SEO too. I like to share, and what I will say is that sharing is one of the things that really fulfill me the most, because I spend so much time researching, validating, and for me, is one of the most important things to be able to share this type of findings, and hopefully they will be useful for you as they have been for me, right? So the first question that everybody asks with AMP is why and when to implement AMP is the first thing, right? Like, we know that AMP went live almost a year ago already. It's a simpler HTML and CSS format using Optimize.js and Google AMP Cache, really using Google as a CDN to serve your mobile pages to deliver a faster and safer mobile web experience. The reality is that if we even may have a responsive web design, right? If we go and we validate it and we measure how much time does it take to load versus mobile AMP page, the reality is the one that I'm showing here right now with my own site, right? It's going to be likely much faster, the experience that AMP is able to provide. It was initially released for publisher. However, now it's really like a requirement, completely a requirement to be included in the news carousels. So of course, this is a priority and a must for publishers nowadays. It's not a ranking factor yet. That is something important to take into consideration. However, because of the big push that it has had, and because at the end of the day, it's now a requirement to be able to be shown in the news carousel, we have this type of visibility, right? Ryan Ranger was sharing about a week here about the type of visibility and results that they are seeing internationally for news in Google News results, right? Like top stories, Google top stories, including AMP has skyrocketed in the last days. And not only really for news and news carousels, we can see also not only AMP rich results that are the ones shown in the carousels or as a rich card necessarily in the results or with an article there, but also as a typical normal results in the SERPs, non-rich results that we can see more and more every day, the one marked in red in the screen, for example. The reality is that there is a very evident preference for AMP now, a very big push too from Google. For example, they are given preference over app deep links. I have been doing a lot of efforts last year for implementations of deep links for my clients that had a very strong app presence besides their web one, and all of a sudden, those in the news and media sector, we realize, oh my God, but the push now and the path now is to go AMP, and AMP is being provided like a preference in treatment and visibility before app deep links, right? So there might be a tweak, there might be a refocus here that we need to take into consideration, and the reality is that AMP preference is big now and is above the one of app indexing, or the one that app indexing never had. Also, it's being expanded for image results. CDNs, Cloudflare, for example, they have started to support it. Ad networks have also started to support it. So this is big. All of this wants to show that this is going big. It's not only necessarily for news anymore or media sites anymore. I am sharing with you right now the roadmap, the AMP roadmap that they share on their site. You can take a look at it. There are still very important functionality that is still not available, that it's likely to be required for an e-commerce site to be able to perform completely with AMP. However, we can see already that is being pushed, that is being planned already to be released in the following months. So we have already seen how eBay, for example, in the past, they tested
too, and they share their experience, their pros and cons, all the positive that they see, what were the challenges, and the most important thing, and why all this matter, and why all this effort is more or less required nowadays for media companies, and why you should be assessing the potential about it is the one that I'm showing at the moment. It's the additional organic search visibility and traffic potential that can be certainly impressive. Again, not only with AMP rich results, the one in the carousels, for example, that we can see in this case. I have this website that is not necessarily pure news type of website in nature, but is about information, generic information, and we can see the big visibility that it has via clicks in AMP results that are not rich ones. So there's a clear, evident potential and benefit out there. However, there are also very well-known cons, restrictions that we will have, very documented poor user experience, just about the fact that you cannot see your own URLs in the browser when you access your own website, right? So you click on the result, you go to your website, and you see previous URL, the Google one. The AMP knows about this, and it is meant to be fixed. They have shared that they are willing to fix this and to provide the much better experience, which doesn't mean that at the moment it's not being attributed to your site, but they really provide and fix this type of experience, because it's very well known that a lot of people have shared that they are not very happy with it. And at the end of the day, also, if you implement AMP with many of the plugins that exist nowadays for WordPress, for example, that really facilitates it. But the reality is that you can end up having an over-simplified type of AMP experience, that type of mobile experience that doesn't necessarily connect and is not consistent with the one that you have with your already existing website for targeted to mobile users, for example. In my case, I have mobile responsive non-AMP already, and when I enable and launch the AMP version, I ended up having this very minimalistic, as you can see, version that doesn't provide all the menu alternatives, menu options. Of course, this is the default one that is generated with the plugin. So realistically, it's important to do tweaks. Otherwise, you can end up having this. A lot of new sessions, a lot of new users in your website, because of course your visibility is going to get a boost, but then a much poorer experience, much higher bounce rate, far less pages per session, far less average session duration at the end of the day. And if you have, again, and I had this type of situation with a client, an independent mobile version with an M subdomain, and if they wanted to implement AMP, and it really compensated for them, and we did an evaluation and everything, validation for this, but then this is a website that has millions of pages, and enabling an AMP really generates this type of complexity, because you don't only have a desktop version, but a mobile one, an additional AMP one. So you need to take all this complexity into consideration, the pros and cons at the end of the day. So when does it make sense to implement AMP at the moment? Well, it's obvious if you're in the media sector, if you have a news website or have a blog that shares information, and your current mobile page speed sucks, of course, that will be a very important factor to take into consideration to want to go and release an AMP version. You can also personalize to have a very similar UX and functionality than the one that your current mobile presence has, and even your generic presence on your sites too. So it is highly connected and is still beneficial to your user, and your user don't get lost in it and have all the same functionalities, and you ideally don't have an independent mobile version. Otherwise, it can become very complex, right? So once that you have decided to implement AMP, what are the steps? The first one is to verify that all your content types and all the functionality is really AMP supported. That all the ads that you want to provide, the forms, if you have like a paywall, if you have some type of specific functionalities with videos, etc., the best is that you verify that there is an AMP alternative for it, and you can easily implement it. And then you create your AMP HTMLs based on the specifications. There's a very good documentation in the ampproject.org website. As you can see, these are variations of the typical HTMLs that we have, HTML and CSS, and you need to use structured markup too, but it's like very straightforward really, and we just need to clean up and reuse the HTML that we already have to follow the AMP guidelines. And we also need to make sure, like for example, when we used to call images, that we replace the old tag for the AMP IMG tag to make sure that, again, it complies with the AMP markup that is just a variation of the typical HTML. And the same with the CSS requirement that needs to be embedded in line in the HTML. We can use only one style sheet per page in this case. And the best of it is that we can directly test it. And we can see many examples and demos and samples of codes in the AMP by example site. But we can directly include the code there and see in real time, in real life there, how it's going to see, and if it passes or doesn't the validation right there. Once that we have implemented the AMP pages correctly, we need to pair our canonical pages or our current pages of our own websites at the moment with the AMP ones, with AMP HTML tags referring to the AMP ones, and then from the AMP ones referring with canonical tags to our own current pages at the moment. And then if at some point if we really want to push and go only with AMP at some point with our own website, we need to self-refer and add a canonical tag to the AMP page. So at the end of the day, our AMP page will be our canonical original version, but this will only happen if at some point we go full AMP and this is the only version that we have for our site. So you can see that this is very straightforward, but it can be greatly facilitated with WordPress plugins like the free AMP plugin here. We have also Glue for AMP by Yoast that facilitates the required markup and customization options too, as well as page wrap plugin too that can also help us to implement instant articles if we want for our site. And the goal really is this, to provide a very consistent user experience through the AMP pages, one that is consistent and very connected with the one that we have with our current mobile sites, like the one of Gizmodo, that you cannot even see the difference. It's just like the menu is at a different location, but the rest is exactly mostly the same. And we need to realize that at the end of the day, this is an extension and independent URLs that reflect our own content. So if at some point we want to remove them, we need to make sure to migrate them, consolidate them, redirect them. We just cannot just leave them there because it will generate errors and we won't be able to capitalize on what we at some point earn by indexing and bringing traffic with these pages. It's also critical to track them, thinking under cross-domain design also. So the suggestion here and the recommendation will be to track AMP as independent properties. And you have here the support of Google Analytics. There is an AMP Analytics type of component that you can use directly, easily also. And if you want to make use of Google Tag Manager, you can do it too. You have here this very helpful resource by Seamus sharing step-by-step how to do it. And then when you do this all, you can go through this checklist, an OnPage AMP checklist that is very, very handy just to make sure that you haven't left anything out and you have implemented all what is required. And then again, you can pass through validators, the AMP project validator, or using Chrome DevTools also to validate the pages that you have enabled with AMP. And even there are crawlers nowadays, like at the SEMrush South Audit, it also validates AMP links and notifies which pages are including and referring to AMP and which are not. Or you can use Screaming Frog using custom extraction too to make sure that you are effectively referring to your AMP pages and they are referring back at some point. They are including the AMP tag. And then you can go and, well, have a drink, hopefully, and watch in a Google Search Console if there's any type of error. Hopefully not. In some cases, it does happen, as you can see here. So in the Google Search Console AMP report, you can see which are the most critical type of errors. So there are critical and non-critical. The priority here is to fix the critical as soon as possible. These are the ones that you should provide and give priority. The ones that are more common and the most important pages at the end of the day, because these are the ones that will be likely affecting more your overall type of AMP results. So most of this are the invalid usage of codes in your AMP pages, because you have left your old JavaScript code or HTML code, or calling images as how you shouldn't, etc. But besides the typical error type of implementation of AMP codes, the other type of most common error is the content mismatch. As you can see here, the issue here is that when we erroneously canonicalize towards our typical traditional canonical version, original web version on one hand, and then on the other hand, when the content is there is not a one that is highly related, that really needs to change or changes a lot the content when we go AMP. So we need to take care of that and make sure that there is a one-to-one relationship between our own presence, or mobile presence, on the AMP one. Also, there are other errors in structure markup. However, these are not critical anymore. So ideally, they should be fixed, but it's not really a priority or critical to see results. And then, if you really want to see which are the pages affected in this case, you can browse and really dig into this in the Google Search Console report here, and directly test and validate and see which line of code the error is showing in your AMP pages. So really, there's no excuse to not being able to validate them, and verify them, and fix them. And ideally, this can be kind of a roller coaster, as you can see here. But at some point, you are going to get it right. You will be able to prioritize those issues and fix them, and have this type of results. One that is positive, that is beneficial, that the blue line goes up, and the red one with the errors go really down, to see this type of results and maximize your mobile search visibility. As you can see in this case, in this website, most of the clicks, most of the visibility on mobile nowadays is coming from the AMP results, whether non-rich results or rich results. And it pays off to have a really much more personalized type of AMP mobile experience. As you can see here, the new sessions are still up. The bounce rate is still higher than usual for mobile. However, it's still a little bit downer than the one that we saw before. We need to understand that the type of behavior, anyway, that the mobile user have with AMP pages might be different, but we want to at least provide a much more consistent and best user experience that the user will likely tend to expect from our content, from our site, and make the most out of this opportunity at the end of the day. So hopefully, with all of these tips, it will be much easier for you to implement your AMP presence. And I'm very looking forward to hear your questions. So I'll be happy to answer.